You've seen it everywhere, right? That three-letter acronym, ESG. It's all over the news, popping up in company reports. But let's be honest, for how often we hear it, pinning down what it actually means can be tricky. Well, that's exactly what we're here to do.
So yeah, what does it actually mean? Seriously, if someone asked you right now to explain ESG in 30 seconds, could you do it? Don't worry, after this, you'll be able to. Let's dive in.
Okay, so here's the plan. We're going to start with what is ESG, then we'll get into its three main pillars. After that, we'll look at how it works in the real world, whip up a simple presentation plan, and wrap up with the big takeaway. Simple as that. All right, let's kick things off with section 1. What is ESG? Time to move beyond just the acronym. So here it is, plain and simple. ESG stands for environment, social, and governance. The best way to think about it, it's kind of like a report card for a company, but instead of just grading them on how much money they make, it looks at their overall impact and, how sustainable they are. Look, this isn't just some corporate buzzword. ESG has a real job to do. It's all about guiding how companies behave, pushing them to be more sustainable. And think about it. When a company is focused on the future, on sustainability, it's basically telling you it's built to last. And that's how you build real trust with everyone, from customers to investors. Okay, now for the really useful part. Let's break this thing down into its three pillars. This is what makes ESG so easy to get your head around. First up is the E. And yeah, you probably guessed it, it stands for environment. This one is all about a company's relationship with our planet. So what does that actually mean? Well, it's looking at the real-world environmental impact. We're asking some pretty straightforward questions here. How is your energy and water use? What's your carbon footprint look like? Are you just throwing everything away, or do you have a handle on waste and recycling? These are the things that tell us if a company is truly managing its impact and thinking about future risks. Next up, we've got the S for social, and it's a perfect follow-up. If E is all about the planet, S is all about people. Simple, right? This one covers a ton of ground, all centered on people. Things like, how are employees treated? Is their workplace safe and healthy? What about human rights all the way down their supply chain? Are they actually committed to treating everyone fairly? You could almost call this pillar the company's conscience. And last but not least, we have G for governance. Now, I know governance can sound a little stuffy or corporate, but it's actually super simple. It's all about how the company is run on the inside. Think of it like the company's internal rule book. Are the rules clear? Does everyone know who's responsible for what? Is the business being run fairly and ethically? Are they open and honest about their decisions? It all boils down to one thing, really. Building a company that runs with integrity and ultimately earns your trust. So let's put it all together. You've got environment, which is about the planet, social, which is about people, and governance, which is about the process. Planet, people, process. Honestly, that's a super simple and powerful way to remember what ESG is all about. Okay, great. So now we know the theory, but how does this actually work in the real world? Let's talk about putting this knowledge into practice and actually looking at a company through this ESG lens. It's actually a pretty straightforward process. First, just pick one company you're curious about. Then start looking for its actions related to E, S, and G. The trick is to not get bogged down in the details. Focus on simple, clear examples. What is the company actually doing? That's the question. All right, so knowing this stuff for yourself is great, but what about explaining it to someone else? ESG is coming up everywhere these days, so knowing how to talk about it clearly is a super valuable skill. Let's look at a simple plan for that. Here's a really easy structure to follow. Start with a quick intro to the company, then share one good example of an E action, one for S and one for G, just one for each. It's a fantastic way to give someone a quick, clear snapshot of what that company is doing. And hey, when you're talking about this stuff, just remember to keep it simple. ESG can be full of jargon, so speak slowly, use short sentences, and definitely don't just read off a slide. The whole point is to make this big idea accessible to everyone. Okay, we're almost at the finish line, so let's zoom out and lock in the big takeaway here. Why does any of this really matter? Here's what I really want you to remember. ESG is a super important way to understand a company today. And by breaking it down into those three pillars, remember, planet, people, and process, we get a much fuller picture of a company's health and its real impact on the world. And if there's one thought to leave you with, it's this. This whole ESG thing isn't just a passing fad. It's about where business is headed. It's about building for what's next. Bottom line, ESG is for the future. So, Now you've got the tools. You can look at a company and see so much more than just the bottom line. So I'll leave you with this question. Which company's report card are you going to check out first?